The soft hum of the refrigerator was the only sound breaking the silence as Jack stepped into the house after a long day at school. It was late afternoon, and the golden sunlight filtered through the windows, casting a warm glow over the hardwood floors. Jack tossed his backpack onto the couch, planning to grab a snack and relax. His father, David, would still be at work for a few hours, and his stepmom, Olivia, was likely somewhere around the house. Jack always found Olivia captivating, not just because of her beauty, but because of her presence. She was in her early 30s, much younger than his father, and had an effortless grace about her. Her dark, flowing hair cascaded down her back in soft waves, and her eyes, a deep shade of green, always sparkled with kindness. She had a figure that made heads turn, tall, slender, with soft curves that she carried with the elegance of someone who wasn't trying to impress but did so naturally. Jack had always admired how Olivia carried herself with confidence and warmth. She never seemed out of place, even in a home she hadn't grown up in. As Jack walked toward the kitchen, something caught his attention. A soft, faint sound, almost like humming. He paused, wondering where it was coming from. It was too quiet to be music and too personal to be anything casual. His heart skipped a beat, and his curiosity got the better of him. He followed the sound down the hallway, his footsteps silent on the wooden floor. Olivia's room was partially open, the door ajar, just enough to let a sliver of light escape. Jack hesitated, unsure if he should approach, but something about the moment felt different. It wasn't his usual curiosity. It was something deeper. A pull that he couldn't ignore. Through the crack in the door, he saw Olivia. She was lying on her bed, dressed in a simple white summer dress that hugged her figure just right. Her long hair fanned out across the pillow, and her eyes were closed as she hummed softly to herself. The sunlight streaming in from the window made her skin glow with a soft radiance, giving her an almost ethereal beauty. She seemed peaceful, lost in her own world, completely unaware of Jack standing there. For a moment, Jack was frozen. He felt something stir inside him, something he couldn't quite place. Olivia's beauty had always been undeniable, but seeing her in such an intimate, relaxed state made him feel things he hadn't expected. His breath caught in his throat as he watched her, his heart racing with a mix of confusion and something else he couldn't name. But as quickly as the feeling came, it was gone, replaced by a deep sense of guilt. He shouldn't be here. He shouldn't be watching her like this. Jack tore his gaze away, but before he could step back, Olivia's eyes fluttered open. She turned her head toward the door, her eyes locking with his. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Jack panicked, his mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. He had been caught, and he didn't know what to do. But Olivia didn't react with shock or anger. Instead, she gave him a soft, gentle smile. There was no embarrassment in her expression, no harshness in her eyes, just warmth. "Jack?" she called softly, her voice low and soothing. "Are you okay?" Jack felt his cheeks flush with embarrassment. Yeah, I'm fine," he stammered, looking anywhere but at her. Olivia sat up slightly, her posture still relaxed. "Come in for a second," she said, her smile never fading. "I think we should talk." Jack hesitated. Every instinct told him to walk away, to avoid this conversation. But something in Olivia's tone, in the way she looked at him, made him take a step forward. He entered the room, his heart pounding in his chest as he stood awkwardly near the door. Olivia shifted to make space for him on the bed, patting the spot beside her. "Sit down, Jack," she said softly. "Let's clear the air." Jack slowly moved to sit on the edge of the bed, feeling like a child caught in the act of doing something wrong. He couldn't bring himself to look at her, afraid that his confusion and embarrassment would show on his face. Olivia, sensing his discomfort, spoke gently. "I know this might feel strange, but I want to talk to you about what just happened. I think there's been a misunderstanding." Jack finally looked up, meeting her gaze. Her green eyes were filled with sincerity, and her expression was calm, without a trace of judgment. He swallowed hard, unsure of how to explain the whirlwind of emotions that had hit him when he saw her lying there. I didn't mean to," Jack started, but his words trailed off. Olivia gave him a reassuring smile. "It's okay, Jack. You didn't do anything wrong. I know it might have seemed like something more than it was, but I was just resting. I wasn't expecting you to come home so early." Jack's mind raced as he tried to make sense of what she was saying. He had misinterpreted the situation, let his imagination take over. The way she had looked, the peacefulness of the moment. It wasn't anything more than a stepmom relaxing in her own home. Olivia continued, her voice soft but firm. "I understand how things can sometimes seem confusing, especially when we don't talk about them. But I want you to know that you're part of this family and I care about you deeply. Whatever you're feeling, you don't have to carry it alone." Jack's shoulders relaxed slightly as the weight of his confusion began to lift. He hadn't even realized how heavy it had been until now. "I'm sorry," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Olivia reached out, gently placing her hand on his. "You don't need to apologize. We all have moments where we misunderstand things. What matters is that we talk about them and clear things up." Jack finally met her gaze, seeing only warmth and understanding in her eyes. In that moment, he realized just how wrong he had been to let his thoughts spiral out of control. Olivia wasn't just beautiful on the outside. Her beauty came from the kindness she showed, the patience she had, and the way she made everyone around her feel valued. The room was filled with a quiet peace as the tension between them slowly dissolved. Jack felt a sense of relief, knowing that what he had feared was nothing more than a misunderstanding. Olivia had always been there for him, even when he hadn't fully realized it. As they sat there in the fading sunlight, the air between them felt lighter. Olivia's presence was comforting, not overwhelming, and Jack began to see her in a new light. She wasn't just his stepmom. She was someone who genuinely cared about him, someone who was willing to have difficult conversations to ensure their relationship remained strong. Over the next few weeks, Jack and Olivia's bond grew stronger. They found themselves talking more often, sharing little moments of connection that they hadn't before. Jack no longer felt the awkward distance that had once lingered between them. Instead, he felt a deep sense of respect and gratitude for the woman who had become such an important part of his life. One evening, as they sat in the living room together, Jack's father came home from work. He smiled at the sight of Jack and Olivia laughing over something trivial on TV. It was a sight he hadn't seen in a long time, the two of them finally at ease with each other. David joined them, sitting down with a contented sigh. "It's good to see you two getting along so well," he said with a grin. Olivia smiled warmly. "We've had some good talks lately." Jack nodded, feeling a sense of pride. "Yeah, we have." As the three of them sat together, Jack realized just how lucky he was to have Olivia in his life. What had started as a misunderstanding had turned into an opportunity for growth and connection. Olivia's beauty, both inside and out, wasn't just something to admire. It was something to be grateful for. She had shown him patience, understanding, and care, and in return, he had gained a deeper sense of family than he ever thought possible. In the end, Jack knew that this new understanding between them wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was the beginning of a strong, lasting bond, one built on trust, communication, and the kind of love that could only come from family.